These 5 green flags predict lasting love, and no one is ever taught to look for them. Look, if all you know is how to look for red flags, you're not dating intelligently. You're actually dating quite defensively. This is We Need to Talk, and I am Dr. Darcy Sterling. We've all become experts at scanning for red flags. It's practically a dating sport at this point. Clocking emotional unavailability, running at the first sign of ick, analyzing every text for hidden meaning. But when you are so busy looking for danger, you can completely miss the signs that someone's actually a good bet. There are subtle behaviors that predict lasting love, but most people overlook them because we are so busy looking for red flags. So today, I am giving you the therapist's cheat sheet. 5 green flags that matter more than chemistry, more than wit, banter, more than someone saying, I am absolutely ready for a relationship. These are the nuanced clues that reveal what someone's really built of. Before we dive in, do me a favor. Hit follow or subscribe right now. It takes a second, it costs nothing, and it helps keep We Need to Talk alive. As you're listening, I want you to know that many of these qualities can actually be developed because they're skills. So ask yourself if you have these green flags, and if you don't, pick 1 or 2 and commit to developing them. All right, let's jump in. Green flag number 1 is the flag most people completely miss, and it is also the strongest predictor of long-term happiness in a relationship. So what is it? Green flag number 1, they see you. They're curious. They ask questions about you, not just surface stuff like your favorite restaurant, which, by the way, is actually more important than you would think, but they ask the kinds of questions that reveal how your mind works. They get you. They follow your thought process, which means that they are able to say emotionally attuned. They pay attention. They remember the things that you say, and then they weave those things into future conversations. Maybe you mentioned offhandedly that you had a big meeting last week. People with this green flag follow up, and they ask how it went. Maybe you told them a story once, and 3 weeks later, they bring it up, not to impress you, but because it actually landed for them. When you're with someone like this, you leave interactions feeling deeply seen and understood. You feel known. And here's the key. This is not about performing interest. People who truly see you don't do it in grand gestures. They do it in micro moments, consistently over time. So why does it matter? This is one of the strongest predictors of emotional intimacy and long-term relationship satisfaction. People who make you feel seen tend to have secure attachment styles. They're capable of real attunement. They don't just hear you, they hold what you share. Green flag number 2, they show up. Their actions match their words. They're consistent. They're reliable. They earn trust through repetition, not through promises. When they say they're going to call, they call. When they say they're going to meet you at 7, they're there at 7. You don't find yourself wondering if they're going to follow through or not, or reading between lines trying to figure out what is really going on. Their behavior speaks for itself. Consistency is like their North Star. It is their love language. They don't rely on intensity or grand gestures to create connection. They rely on showing up. And here's the thing. A lot of people overlook this because, I don't know, it doesn't feel sexy at first. People who aren't perfectly consistent often get mistaken as exciting in the early stages. But over time, that shit gets old. Why showing up matters? This predicts emotional safety and stability. Trust is not built through words. It is built through patterns. So when someone shows up consistently, they create the conditions for real intimacy to grow. You know, I don't just talk about mental health. I live it. And in my 20s, I built a boutique private practice that reflects the kind of therapy I always needed. It's called Alternatives Counseling, and we are now accepting new clients. If you've ever listened to this podcast and thought, I wish I had someone to walk me through this in real life, that is exactly what we do. We work with individuals and couples, especially high achievers, who are killing it in their careers and want that same success in their personal lives. We help you build deeper, healthier connections without losing yourself in the process. This is evidence-based therapy delivered by licensed therapists who are the best of the best. Change is hard. Doing it alone is harder. Come do the work with us at alternativescounseling.com. Green flag number 3, they respect boundaries, theirs and yours. Boundaries aren't a threat to these people. They have their own life. They know their limits on time, on energy, on emotional capacity. And then, most importantly, they communicate them calmly, not defensively. If they need space, they say so clearly instead of ghosting or stonewalling or disappearing. They don't say yes when what they mean is no. They don't overextend to avoid discomfort, and they don't expect you to read their mind. They express their needs directly, and they respect your boundaries too. So when you set a boundary, big or small, they don't punish you or sulk or try to push past it. They listen when you say no, and then they adjust their behavior accordingly. They don't interpret your boundary as rejection. They understand it as information. And if they don't understand it, they're curious, not defensive. So why does it matter? It predicts healthy conflict navigation and sustainable closeness. Boundaries are not walls. They're the framework that allows two people to stay close without losing themselves. How it plays out in a relationship is that they understand that closeness does not require constant access. They don't rely on you to meet every one of their emotional needs. They maintain friendships, self-care, and other types of support. So you're not their only thing in life. You're not their only source of comfort, of entertainment, of support. I hear people complain about this all the time. People often complain in long-term relationships that they are their partner's everything. It is not sustainable. And when boundaries bump up against each other, as they inevitably do in a long-term relationship, they don't turn that into a power struggle. They problem solve with you. This is the quiet backbone of healthy love. Two people who can hold their own edges and simultaneously stay connected. Green flag number 4, they are emotionally flexible. They can change their minds. My friends, this one is a sleeper hit. It doesn't sound it, but it is deeply predictive of long-term relational health. So do not zone out on me. Emotional flexibility is everything in life. People who lack it are rigid. They don't recover well from disappointment or from failure. And as a result, they tend to take fewer risks, and they're likely to discourage you from aiming too high as well. And look at that, I fell right into the red flags, so let me roll back and get back into the green ones. People who are emotionally flexible tend to be humble. Their egos are not rigid, and they have higher levels of resilience, so they can apologize without being defensive. If you bring up an issue, they don't double down. They listen, and they're open to shifting. They're able to say, you know what? I hadn't thought of it that way. Or, maybe I was wrong, without spiraling into shame or harboring resentment. Emotionally flexible people can change plans when circumstances or facts change instead of melting down, stonewalling, or turning their disappointment into a power struggle with you. Your perspective matters to these people, not just their own perspective. They're also not threatened by growth, whether it is their growth or yours, which means you're going to have the freedom and maybe even be encouraged to grow into whoever you are meant to be. They have ego strength. They don't need to be the one who's always right to feel secure. They're capable of growth over time, which is essential because no one gets through a long-term relationship without needing to evolve. They value the relationship more than being right. And as a result, they feel more safe to negotiate with. You're more likely to negotiate with them because you're not worried that you're going to constantly rub up against a defensive person every time something comes up or every time you want to compromise on something. People who are rigid, nobody wants to contend with them. They basically train the people around them not to negotiate, to always apologize, to always be the one with emotional flexibility. It's not great. Green flag number 5, they have a life. They're not looking to be absorbed into yours, and they're not trying to hijack you from your world. They're actually looking for a merger, not an acquisition. They maintain friendships and family ties instead of dropping everything the moment they start dating someone new. They still pursue their hobbies, their passions, their goals outside of the relationship. And they encourage you to keep your own connections and pursuits as well, rather than subtly pulling you away from them. They don't expect you to be their therapist, their best friend, their social calendar, and hobby all rolled into one person. They have plans, commitments, and sources of joy that don't always involve you, and they respect that you do too. So, what does this tell you? They're emotionally able to differentiate. We call it emotionally differentiated. They're capable of being close and separate. They don't need to control your world to feel safe. They're less likely to become enmeshed or dependent, which is what keeps passion, curiosity, and growth alive over the long term. It is a strong predictor of stability, interdependence, not independence, not codependence. These 5 green flags, they are the foundation of real intimacy. They see you, they show up, they respect boundaries, they're emotionally flexible, and they have a life. As you're out there dating or even reflecting on your current relationship, don't just look for chemistry. Look for these qualities. And just as importantly, ask yourself, do I embody these? Because lasting love isn't about finding someone who checks every box. It's about making sure that you're someone who somebody else thinks is a quality partner. It's about building something real with someone who has the capability, the capacity, and the willingness to do the same. We Need to Talk with Dr. Darcy Sterling is a Sterling Standard production. Editing and sound engineering is by Bart Miguel. Our theme music is by Trending Music. Special thanks to Amanda Christiani and Robin Genshin. The team at We Need to Talk and I want to keep making these episodes for you. So for me to keep doing that, I need you to please make sure you follow the show wherever you're watching or listening. And ideally share this episode with a friend or two. Do that for me, and I'll keep showing up for you with the quality content that you can rely on. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, scroll down to the ratings and reviews and tap the stars. That's it. 2 seconds that helps more people find us. We'll be back on Tuesday with the relationship, dating, and mental health hacks you have come to expect. References are always linked in the show notes. I'll see you soon.